Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the We Bought a Franchise podcast. I'm Jack Johnson.
I'm Jill Johnson.
We've got a great podcast for you guys. Today, we have the legendary Chuck Runyon of Anytime Fitness and Purpose Brands, Orange Theory. Chuck, I know I'm probably leaving some of this out. Waxing the City too. Thank you for being on our podcast today.
Yeah, thank you. Along with the Bar Method and Basecamp Fitness. So we have 5 franchise brands within the portfolio, and excited to be here today. Thanks.
Excellent.
What a portfolio.
We've got so much to unpack. And of course, we're joined by our esteemed panel of franchise consultants. We have Catherine Allen, Brian Gross, David San Juan, and Morgan Knoller joining us. I think this is going to be a terrific podcast today. And Chuck, there's so much that you've done in your career. And I'd love to hear your story and kind of what got you started. Maybe just if you wouldn't mind, how did this all start? How did Anytime Fitness begin? What was the need that you saw? How did you get into all of this?
Yeah, it really goes back to when Dave and I were like 20 years old. So we have been like entrepreneurs for 36 years. And it's really important to note that for the majority of that time, we've been small business owners, which has like instilled within us this incredible empathy. And it's like, no matter how big Purpose Brand gets, we have the soul of a small business owner. We understand how hard it is to run a small business and that there are never enough resources to help. And so that's why with our franchise owners, man, we know what it's like. And so we have so much empathy and we provide so much support, both emotional and operational support. But when we were 20, we started selling memberships in health clubs here in Minneapolis, St. Paul. We became very good at it and we knew how to like market and do membership blitzes. So for 15 years, from 1990 to 2005, we ran a marketing company that would work with health clubs all across the US, Canada, even in Australia. And we would do membership blitzes for multi-purpose health clubs around the country. And we'd generate hundreds, sometimes thousands of memberships. And our company got paid a commission based on performance. So we've always been performance driven. We've always had to like earn it. And then in the late 90s, we came across some distressed health clubs that had a racquetball, whirlpool, sauna, 40, 50, 60,000 square feet. And they were going to close. We would buy them very cheap. We'd, remodel them and put in our sales and marketing expertise and take a club that maybe had a few hundred members to a few thousand members. And we'd end up selling them for a profit. And it was during the ownership of those larger clubs where we realized that racquetball is declining, aerobics was declining at the time, pools, whirlpool, saunas, all that stuff was being underutilized. And we're like, gosh, we've got 50, 60,000 square feet. But most people are coming in for cardio and strength and Nautilus and personal training. And so we kept thinking about the idea of, all right, we should create more of an express club. But we didn't really know what the differentiator was. So I went to visit one of our teams in Tullahoma, Tennessee, a very small town outside of Nashville. And we were creating memberships for a small town club. And the owner was giving away hardware keys to his members. And I remember walking to the parking lot, calling my partners at the time, Dave being one of them, saying, look, this is it. We can create like a keyless club that is efficient. And, back in 2002 or 2001, when we started this, remember this type of technology didn't exist. There were no smartphones, right? We were using floppy disk at the time. And so we really, in 2002, in May, launched the first technology-enabled fitness center, using technology to give our members 24/7 convenience, come in anytime they want, surveillance system, and we gave away key fobs. But it allowed the owner to provide 24/7 access, but not always staff the club. And we took all the safety requirements. And so our payroll in our big stores used to be like 40% or more. And in Anytime Fitness, it'd be 10% because you can selectively staff. And so that technology enabled us to grow very fast. We didn't know much about franchising at the time, but we're quick learners. We started club number 1 as a franchise. And so the genesis was the differentiator of technology meets fitness, and then our investment in franchising from day one.
I mean, it's just such an incredible story. And you guys were named the #1 franchise in the world in 2016 by Entrepreneur Magazine.
Well, 2 years in a row, by the way. And I like to say that, I'm from Minnesota. We are the most winningest purple team. The Vikings are number 2 because in franchising, that's like the equivalent to winning the Super Bowl, which we won twice. And as you know, teams from Minnesota don't win the Super Bowl. So we are proud of that award. By the way, we've also received like best place to work in Minnesota multiple times. So we're super proud of our culture and winning that talent war and being a great place to work and the lifestyle we deliver franchisees.
So the world, and it's interesting. I don't know if you know Josh York from Gym Guys. He's
Yes.
growing up an incredible franchise. We had him on the podcast last week. And Chuck, I'd say for half of it, we just kind of talked about cold plunging and sauna and recovery. And It seems to me that fitness has changed a lot in the last 10 years. You look at the things that we're doing now versus what we were doing 10 years ago. Strength has moved into the lead, right? More strength, less cardio, more steps. You don't need to go run yourself to death anymore. Now it's more focused on building up that sort of high intensity workouts and then recovery with sauna and cold plunges. I'd love to hear your take on where things are going, where things have changed, and what you see happening out there.
Absolutely love it. Look, we all wish COVID never happened, but the I guess silver lining is all these wellness conversations have accelerated. And if you think about our aging population, I love the narrative around longevity and strength training and quality of life and health span, right? It's not about six-pack abs. It's not about necessarily vanity. It's about the mental side of fitness and adding quality to our life because health is an asset. So I love it. There has never been a better time to be a fitness consumer. You can find things free on YouTube. You can find a very cheap club nearby. You can find a boutique for the modality that you love. You can find an expensive club. You can find a convenient club. Wearables. I mean, it's never, ever been a better time. And therefore, it's also never been a better time in this industry to be an entrepreneur, to be a franchisee. And so I love where this is going. The best years are ahead of us. If you think about all the conversations around preventative wellness and this intersection between medical and fitness coming together, huge opportunities for everyone in fitness and every single consumer. So, I mean, it's the right conversations to have. And I love it. Look, I guarantee you the next decade is going to be an incredible opportunity for everyone in wellness.
I just got the Whoop
last
week. And
you haven't stopped talking about them.
Well, so yesterday I took both Jill and I just did our, semi-annual. We get them twice a year.
No, this is our annual one.
But like she does our blood twice a year.
Yeah.
Okay, so Whoop checks 65 markers, right? And I had 55 from the doctor, and I inputted all of it into Whoop. And then Whoop said, okay, well, now based upon your sleep, based upon your exercise, based upon your all this stuff, here's what I'm going to recommend for you. I'm like, just like you said, wow, what a great time for fitness and data and all this great stuff.
The level of personalization is remarkable and only getting better. The wearables are so good in this space. And then the democratization of services like getting your blood panel, but then getting them in a way that's understandable and now taking actionable steps. And that is like never before, peptides, personalization, supplements. And for us now to take that information and give it to our medical professionals to get the right care that is very preventative. I mean, I'm telling you, it's only going to get better. If you look at HealthKit, right, it's very portable. I can share that now with my medical professional, or my physical therapist, or my nutritionist, whoever I want. And so I'm telling you, it's this level of personalization and the ability now to maybe monetize that in the future with maybe lower insurance costs or brand deals from supplements or getting your blood tests, et cetera. It's only going to get better. So I love where it's going.
We are so excited to have your brands as a part of our portfolio. We've just started working with Anytime Fitness over the past, I think, 3 months or so. I believe we're adding Orange Theory to our inventory for all of you listening. We should be able to offer that in the next couple of weeks. We're excited about that.
I am curious how Purpose Brands evaluates whether one of these is scalable. What data do you use and how do you determine what's part of Purpose Brands?
It's a great question. And we are still eagerly looking at what I call the personal care space. Wax in the City is a brand that we acquired pre-COVID. It's doing well. That gives us permission to kind of be in that personal care space. And I think if you look at beauty and skin and anti-aging, longevity and med spa and all those things, there are going to be some winners that we're going to, kind of keep our eyes on to potentially acquire. It has to be of something of purpose, something that we believe in that makes lives better. That's an absolute something we won't compromise on. And then, it's got to be the proof of concept is there. I mean, we're at the size now. We need to have a brand that has shown proof of concept, probably has at least 100 or more units, has growth potential, and is also portable internationally. I mean, one of the biggest assets of Purpose Brands is we have about 18 master franchisees around the world. People don't know this, but we have more locations for Anytime Fitness located outside the U.S. and inside the U.S. and over 3,000 outside the U.S. In fact, if we open up 500 clubs this year, 75 to 80% of those will be outside the U.S. So we need something that's portable so we can leverage our relationships around the world. And we need something that has shown proof of concept. It's a good product. It's a good service. Now we can just add our capabilities to make it grow faster.
Great, thank you. And also I was thinking about the franchisees you have in your system and how fitness and wellness is, it's a very competitive market. What KPIs do you recommend that they pay attention to in order to stay ahead of the curve and relevant?
Yeah, that's a great question. So every brand, of course, has a different set of KPIs. And so our fitness business coaches, I mean, have these KPIs, the owner has it as well. And so, when people come through like our discovery days, we talk about those KPIs, like what do we track? Why do we track them? And more importantly, how do we manage them? How do we measure them? How do we make sure that if you're doing well, you can be best in class? If you're not doing well, how you change that? So, I mean, we have very typical KPIs on like personal training percentage, average member value, close rate. I mean, all these things are very typical, but it's really important for us to manage from those KPIs to make sure our owners understand it. And more importantly, they know how to take action and get their team to take action around it and reward those. And at the end of the day, we try to benchmark those within our networks. Where you're best in class or where you need some improvement.
Thank you.
What advice would you have for someone in the corporate fitness space looking to transition into franchise ownership?
Well, I mean, typically some of our most successful franchisees have come to us with fitness industry experience. So if they already have some corporate fitness experience, I think that's a massive asset to put to work. But like any franchisee, first of all, they really should get to know their franchisor, get to know the people on the team. When you come to Discovery Day, like spend time with the marketing leader, the real estate leader, all the primary subject matter experts that are going to help drive this business, and get a feel for the culture and the sentiment that the franchisor has and the relationship they have with franchisees, as well as do your homework, call franchisees. But going back to that KPI conversation, I mean, talk about the KPIs and how will I be measured for success? How do I change these? I mean, really get to understand the business. I think the KPIs that a franchisor measures and a franchisee has tells a lot about what's important. And so you kind of go into it eyes wide open. Is all right. Here, if I know I need to acquire members and engage those members, support those members, let's look at the KPIs to do that.
It's interesting. Real quick point. Yesterday, I love what you said, Chuck, about call franchisees. So we're working with a client that's talking to a a fairly young franchise. And the representative texted me last night and he said, hey, listen, there's something wrong with your client. They say to me, they're not going to sign unless they can talk to at least 5 random franchisees. What's up with that? And I said, that's my guidance. We make sure at Franchise Insiders, and all of us, Chuck, the whole purpose of our brand is we are franchise owners helping future franchise owners. All of us are current or former franchise owners. And I said to the rep, look, that's our guidance. We want them to talk to high performers, low performers, medium performers, even someone that's left the system. Because yes, the item 19 and the item 20 and the item 6 and 7 tell a story, but nothing tells a better story than franchisees.
100% agree. It's funny. There was a side opportunity I was kind of looking for on behalf of a group of investor friends. And so I made some phone calls personally to this brand I was looking at, not in the wellness space. And I know what questions to ask. And at the end of the day, I did enough diligence and I called people off the reference sheet. By the way, they were franchisees. They gave me some of their financials. And at the end of the day, that group did not decide to do the investment because it just wasn't good enough. And so I 100% agree. Visit or call franchisees on or off the reference sheet. What we tell our sales team to do is, like, given the situation of the prospect, maybe the type of market, the type of partnership, or kind of the competitive make, try to find them some references where they have this specific competitor or they have a partnership like this, and you provide a curated list. But the prospect should always do some of their own diligence as well, for sure. And we pride ourselves in providing a soft landing. Look, when a club or studio or franchise is not going well, we try to help resell. We will help our franchisee till the last out, the last inning. And so try to talk to some of those people. But also, you guys know this, everyone in business has bad days. And when you are a franchisee, if you're having a bad day, and sometimes it comes out that way. So you just got to, if you do some accumulative diligence, you take all of that and versus maybe a one-off call. If someone's great or someone's bad, just, look at all of it in totality.
Yeah, we always talk about how, it's important to talk to everybody, but everyone's in a different place in this whole process. So one thing we always talk about is how your first, 12 to 18 months are a little, can be the most stressful, the most difficult. So if you're starting, let's say, an Anytime Fitness from scratch, what are those first 12 months look like?
Well, assuming you sign the franchise agreement, we have all the real estate analytics and the broker network, we've got to help you find a good site. That is a very critical decision. So we've got all the vendors and all the help to do that. Once you get that site solidified and negotiate a lease, we have a wonderful vendor to help do that because no one should ever negotiate their lease on their own. Make sure they hire an attorney. But assuming you have the site, the lease signed, we give a design book and project management to help you through the design process to get that store open. But the beauty about the wellness space, specifically the Anytime Fitness, is you can pre-sale memberships before you open. And so you can open up your doors. Our average club opens up with over 150 members. So you've already got some capital. You've already got some recurring revenue booked, right? We sign people up on 12, 18, or 24-month agreements. And so that recurring, so that's a wonderful way to start your business when you've already got, say, a couple hundred members. And by the way, we've had clubs join up with hundreds of members, even over 1,000. So it's, really get tactical. I mean, there's never a better time when you're the brand new business in town. There's so much local PR. There's so much curiosity, so much excitement. We really want our franchisees to get off to a good start. So no matter what business, if you're in a flower business, if you're in a restaurant business, really maximize that grand opening that first 6 months because everyone's excited about your business.
Brian Gross here, and I'm going to completely disagree with something you said earlier. I go to the gym daily, and it's purely for vanity. All right, so some of us are still out there. But on a more serious note, one of the cool things about some of your brands, they've been around a long time, right? So you've seen a lot of economic cycles, ups and downs. You've seen a lot of fitness fads come and go. So how do you set up your brands for that long-term success?
Yeah, it's a great question, by the way. In 23 years of Anytime Fitness, we've been through the startup years, the Great Recession. A lot of people don't remember those times, right, when the banking industry was collapsing and, landlords didn't want to make any deals. It was tough to get financing. We've been through what I'd call this digital, right, ubiquitous revolution where the phone now has become the number one thing in everyone's life. We've been through so many different types of competition. We've been through COVID. So we've kind of seen it all. We have to be incredibly adaptable, incredibly resilient, incredibly strong, not just operationally, but emotionally for our franchise owners. And we provide emotional support sometimes as much as we provide operational support. And so we talk about EQ a lot with our team and how necessary that is to listen and to comfort and to just offer that emotional support to our franchise owners. We adapt to the times. I mean, obviously strength training has never been more important, but there were times when people were kind of into the studio sector. And so we've done things like small group training. We've done, in-person one-on-one coaching. We are now doing virtual coaching. We've added nutrition and recovery. As Jack started earlier in this conversation, I mean, we have saunas in some of our clubs now. We have red light therapy in some of our clubs. And so we want to be very adaptable. And so our offerings have kind of been a bit elastic in the size of our clubs. We've added functional training. And so over the years, we continue to adapt and evolve our model. We did a deal with Apple Fitness Plus. Every single one of our members gets Apple Fitness Plus as part of their membership. So that digital, right? They can do, whether they're in a club or outside of a club, they now have every modality at Apple Fitness Clubs. They're an incredible partner. So we just continue to adapt to what the consumer's needs and expectations are.
That's great. I have a question. I know, David, you're champing at the bit there, but before I forget, Chuck, are there owners that diversify from Anytime to Orange Theory and vice versa? How much of that are you guys seeing?
The merger is relatively new. I mean, it's about a year and a half, so we have not seen that much yet. Internationally, for certain, that's going to happen as our masters kind of grow in maturity. They're going to be multi-brand in their portfolio. We have some owners now who do Base Camp at Anytime because that's been around longer, Wax in the City, Bar Method. So we have some cross-pollination, and some of our owners now are actually becoming, with private equity back, they're looking for other offerings even outside of wellness. So I would say it's becoming more common, but as you look at our entire portfolio, it's still a small percentage of owners.
And that's a great point. And for our listeners that are, private equity and looking for roll-ups within franchise communities, is that something that you guys are open to?
Yeah, huge trend right now going on within our network. And I think all of franchising. I think private equity loves franchising, the predictability of recurring revenue. They love to back solid operators who have it with a proven track record. And you can do some roll-ups, right? You can get that EBITDA arbitrage. You can buy a single unit or 2 or 3 units for a much less lower multiple. And once you put in a platform, you get a higher multiple. So I think that's a trend happening with our network and across franchising. And look, private equity, assuming you pick the right partner, they add capital, they add capability, they can be a really good partner. So it's a way to professionalize your operation and grow quicker.
And especially if you can recapitalize a very effective owner and, okay, now here you've done a great job growing these 5 locations. Now here's 20 million. Let's go do it. Let's go take some of those underperformers. Let's buy them and grow them. And for everybody wins, right? You guys win. The item 19 gets beefier. Those owners that were underperforming get an exit, and private equity and the owner, they get acquisition partners. I mean, that's where, to me, a mature system like the brands that you guys have, that we feel so good about connecting investors to you guys, because we know there are built-in acquisition and exit partners from day one. So we'll know at month 18, as Jill mentioned, of being open, you've got options to either grow or sell to someone else and go do something else.
You nailed it. Nothing to add there. You nailed it.
Awesome. David, what do you got?
Hey, Chuck. David
Hey, David.
San Juan here. First of all, I think I've spent money in every single one of your clubs. So
Love it.
I'm one of the gym rats. Actually, my last gym membership was an Anytime Fitness in a small town called Liberty Hill, Texas.
Cool.
It was the only gym around, so it was great. Talking about multi-unit operations, how do you maintain brand alignment when franchisees grow into multi-unit operators with their own local identity?
Oh boy, that's a great question. And first, let me say, one of the reasons we started Anytime Fitness too is we saw all these underserved markets, specifically rural to second or third tier. I mean, we might be the only club in a town of 5, 10, 15, 20,000 people. And so if you think about the health in rural America, it's not that great. And so for us to provide what I'd call big gym equipment, big gym services in a smaller gym in a market that we're probably the only type of gym that can be sustainable. I love it. I'm so proud of the fact that we offer, Anytime Fitness and our services in very small markets, by the way, around the world now. So I love that. Your question's great. So if I'm being honest, we started in 2002. Our business model was really easy to replicate. And so after we launched, everyone saw it. We had dozens and dozens of copycatters. I mean, go rent 5,000 square feet, shove it full of equipment, create this technology package, and open. And so we were in this crazy market race. So if I'm being honest, we sold to anyone because we wanted to win the market share race. We wanted to be the number one player. It worked out. We're here today. We are like 40 times bigger than our number 2 competitor. Most of those other competitors went out of business. But because we grew so fast, as I look back, we did not have the uniformity and brand standards and enforcement that we should have. And so today, you can go to 2 Anytime Fitnesses and unfortunately have not the same type of standardized experience. We are much better at today than we ever have been before. And like internationally, our clubs are better as a network than they are domestically. And we're getting better domestically. But it's a mistake I made and we made as a leader to not strictly, we could have done both at the same time. But today, look, it's far more standardized, far more uniformity. We have a great deal of respect for what localization is necessary. But at the end of the day, we want every Anytime Fitness to look and feel and operate very, very similarly. So, where our owners, community events, some of how they engage the community, obviously some of the culture that they have is obviously nuanced to their community and their leadership. But we're trying to be a little bit more standardized than we've ever been before. And by the way, I think if you think about international growth, we call it global. What do we globalize in the experience that is absolutely standard across every Anytime Fitness in the world? And then what do we need to localize? And if you're in Japan, if you're in Spain, if you're in London, there are some local nuances we have to be very respectful of, and we have to accommodate locally. So there are some things we need to allow to make sure that brand thrives in that region of the world.
And Chuck, did you mention on the international front, are you guys doing masters or is it just, singles and multi-unit?
Master franchisees. So for instance, our first deal was Australia, 2008. They essentially buy the rights to the sub-franchise in Australia. So they sell and support their own franchisees. We support the master franchisee. And so Australia, Anytime Fitness is the number 1 brand in Australia. As we speak, they're having their annual conference in Gold Coast right now. And they are crushing it. By the way, they've never had better numbers in terms of member count, average member value, total remit. They are absolutely crushing it. And they're our partners. But again, they sell and support their own network of franchise owners.
Chuck, I've got a funny story for you. So prior to starting Franchise Insiders, Jill, myself, Catherine, we were at a franchise which is now known as The Key, which is in-home healthcare. And our first master franchisee was in Australia too, because Catherine, on her honeymoon, where did you meet that franchisee?
Him in Bali at a restaurant bar. Shocker. And I started talking to him about his dad, and he had dementia. And so he was, I started talking about our dementia care and all these things. Then next thing we know, connected him with Jack, and he became our master franchise owner.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Love that.
It's amazing how often Australia is the first master.
Well, they're a very franchise-centric culture. I think per capita, they're maybe the highest or one of the highest countries of franchises per capita. So they're very, very franchise-centric.
Yeah, I think for us, it's the home care there is so different with their home care packages and how it's run. It's very different than the U.S. So, but those owners did very well.
Well, it's funny. Remember, we started here in 2002, and there were so many competitors here domestically, but around the world, people took notice. And so in Australia, we were not the first to market in our type of business model. There were competitors there. But I give so much credit to our Australian partners. They out-executed our competition. We are by far the number 1 fitness brand in Australia. They're just crushing it.
It's amazing. I feel like people in Australia would be very fitness conscious. I don't know.
You'd be surprised. People have that, but the mental health in Australia is a big deal. The obesity rate is probably a little bit more than you think, and so they're not as healthy as the brand appears. By the way, I love Australia. There's some of my best buddies are down there, but they're like every other country. They're being too sedentary, not eating the right types of food, so they need more anytime
Too much
fitness.
Vegemite. Too much Vegemite.
Exactly, 100%. Yes.
We bought a franchise. We bought a franchise. We bought a franchise.
Well, and then looking at your LinkedIn profile, Chuck, I can see that, health, wellness, nutrition, that's a big part of your, I would say, passion perhaps, in helping to educate the world on what's right in terms of nutrition.
I used a term called health first, brand second, meaning that I want to spend my time promoting a healthier life. That means we lobby with members of Congress and policymakers around the world. It's just, we need to get people healthier. Despite the abundance of wellness offerings, we are an unhealthy society. And by the way, poor health around the world. And so I just want people to work out. I just want people to be healthy. So if you choose Anytime Fitness, awesome. But if you choose another brand, I just want you to be healthy and live healthier behaviors. So I really care about health first, brand second. And if the world is getting healthier, all of us in this industry are going to benefit. But I just want healthier societies. I want healthier people around the world.
And it feels like that, it feels like we've got some of the right messaging going out there. And again, I think we're getting so much smarter about this. When I think back to like when you and I first met in 2007, I mean, we didn't think at all about nutrition. We wanted protein, but it was like, if you look at like the protein shakes we had back then, the stuff that was in those the gums and the fillers. And now we're getting so much more knowledgeable about, let's go with less ingredients, simpler ingredients, cleaner ingredients. And, it's so cool because now I can just say to ChatGPT, what do you think of the ingredients of this shake? And it will say, well, this is good, this is not good. So we, like you've said repeatedly on this podcast, we're in such a neat environment now because we have so much data. It's just executing the data.
I think it's important too to have different types of fitness because, once you kind of find your passion and what you love, like those Orange Theory people, they're hardcore. Like, I'm impressed. They're up every morning. They're going, like, they're dedicated. And I'm someone that one time I couldn't find a parking spot at the gym, so I left.
It was a long time ago.
But it was until I found something that I loved, until I started getting into different things. So I think having the variety and the fact that we have that now, you have Orange Theory is great for people who are competitive, bar method, or, something like that, that's going to be a little bit maybe less intense for people looking for a different type of thing. I just think it's amazing how much variety we have. And I love that you guys have that.
So thank you. And look, you guys are all fitness enthusiasts. You understand wellness. You understand how important it is mentally and physically. And I'm a hardwired optimist. However, I also understand the reality. And the reality is 8 out of 10 people are not very healthy. They're not a member of a commercial health club. They're not seeing much activity during the week. And the reality is this technology is allowing us to be sedentary. And unfortunately, we're consuming things that are making us mentally fragile or mentally in a worse place. And so mental health, as you know, is becoming a big issue. People are sitting too much and not burning off the calories. And we have what I consider very low nutritional IQ. The average person doesn't really understand the caloric intake. They underestimate the calories on their plate and they overestimate what movement and burn. And so if you don't have that knowledge, it's really, your body IQ is very, very low for most people. They don't understand your resting metabolic rate. And so you guys get it, but I'm telling you, it's the health for most people is getting worse, not better, despite the abundant growth of our industry.
So Chuck, along those lines, right, we have access to more information than ever. We've made a lot of development. We've hit on some of those trends here. Where do you see this space going over the next 5-10 years?
Oh, wow. You nailed it, man. So if you look at watch for our January marketing campaign for Anytime Fitness, because there's too much information out there. It's too noisy. Consumers don't know who to trust. They don't know what is really the truth. And so we're leaning into that. I think AI can, of course, help us. But at the end of the day, people still need a human touch. They need a high five from their coach. They need a hug. Sometimes they need that kick in the butt. They need to be held accountable. Accountability is hard in today's environment. So we're really trying to balance the right AI for personalization. But also, oftentimes it reminds our coaches or our club staff the messages that a person needs to hear, and we can personalize that message. So it's kind of like this human AI combination that we're trying to zero in on, and so people know who to trust. We want them to be able to trust our local Anytime Fitness, the content we provide them that's right for them, and the coach that they meet with, because we understand where they're at. And that comes from taking in their biometrics, taking their behaviors. Like we can take in their wearable information. We've got body scanners with 40 different biometrics. So we can take in that information, be hyper personal, and then make sure to customize a plan that meets their lifestyle and meets their needs. And so I'm not saying we're where we need to be today, but that's where we're going. And there's never been a better time for consumer data, and we can use it for the right purposes. And so I'm super excited about that. But you nailed it, man. There's so much information out there. People don't know who to trust or what to.
Chuck, one of my favorite sayings is help enough people get what they want and you will get what you want. And how good must it feel for you to have created this incredible brand that has been voted the best franchise in the world, to have helped so many people? Like what you have done has helped so many people. What does that feel like when you put your head down on the pillow at the end of the night? I mean, that must feel so good.
Yeah, it's funny you say that phrase. I always use it all the time, is to put your head down on the pillow, knowing that the work you did today helped others. I can't put a price on it. Like, I mean, purpose brands, that is like who we are. And so the fact that the harder we work, the more people around the world have access to health. The harder we work, the more jobs we create around the world. Where, by the way, for some people around the world, you get to like Southeast Asia where jobs aren't as abundant, and maybe jobs for women aren't as abundant. I mean, we empower people around the world to provide franchise opportunities, to democratize and make affordable franchise opportunities. So we get to like triple dip on consumers, on our franchisees and club staff, and on our own employees. Oh man, it is soul enriching. It's calories for the soul. And so at the end of the day, it's like the purpose is very, very strong in what we do. I can't imagine doing anything more, because we get to help people. The harder we, no matter what, I don't care how hard it gets, what problems we're trying to solve. If we solve it, we help more people.
So well said.
By the way, I can't help but plug, this just came out. Dave and I wrote a book called Franchise Your Franchise. And so, look, we've never wanted to build an ordinary franchise. We wanted something that like literally lights people up and from win their hearts, win their mind, win their soul. And so I'm gonna send you guys a copy, because and we just want people to build like a franchise, like, get as passionate about your job as you do like your college team or your sports team or your favorite band. I mean, let's really emotionally engage our stakeholders, unlike other opportunities.
That's great. Yeah, that's fabulous. Is there Kindle and audio versions of that book too, Chuck?
It is so hot off the press. We literally created this for our franchise owners at our Boston conference 2 weeks ago. Probably early 2026, there will be those options. But right now, it's just a good old rudimentary, archaic book.
Love it. Love it. That's awesome. Well, Chuck, you've been so generous with your time today. What I'd like to do now is maybe just do a quick round the horn, last questions. I'm going to go ahead and Catherine, you draw first.
So, gosh, why first? So much. Thank you, Chuck, for joining. Honestly,
Better first than last.
A pleasure to have you on today's call. One question I didn't get to ask that I wanted to was, as women lead more in the fitness and wellness space, how is Purpose Brands supporting diversity and leadership development across its systems?
Oh gosh, I love that question. I'm telling you, maybe one of the secret ingredients of our success over the last 23 years has been that the majority of people of influence within our company have been women. Look, we are a brand of EQ. We're a brand that really needs to communicate. Generally speaking, women have strong communicators. They listen. They're willing to engage their heart. They have empathy. They just, at the end of the day, they have high EQ. So we've created an atmosphere, an environment where with unlimited PTO, as I'm a parent of 4, Dave's a parent of 5, we never want our employees to miss those important moments. So like, we don't track it. Like, you do what you got to do. And so we've been an amazing place for people of all walks of life to work, but specifically women. And you will not find a more diverse franchise brand, at least in wellness, than we are, because we operate in over 40 countries. We operate in all 7 continents. And so we've got people from all walks of life that are operating our fitness centers or working with our masters or working as vendors. We're very, very rich in diversity and opportunities for everybody. And so I'm super, super proud of that.
I love that. Thank you.
Brian?
All right, Chuck. So there's a lot in the fitness industry. So right now you're an investor, and what's a brand vertical in the space that you would love to have in your portfolio that you don't have right now?
Ooh, I don't really want to name anything specific, but I'm telling you, there are so many opportunities, what I'd call longevity, anti-aging. It's a kind of a new, but there's so much fragmentation. And I'd say there's a whole lot of players out there. And eventually there are going to be some winners. And so we're giving this time to let's see who the winners are. We're just at the size now where, if you're not at $5 or $10 million in EBITDA or something, if you don't have some scale and some proven portability, we're just not ready yet. But I'm keeping an eye on this space, probably for personal reasons too, as at my age, right? And longevity and like you, I want to look good. And so I do like that personal wellness kind of longevity space. And so we're just keeping an eye on that.
You know, what's incredible to me, Chuck, is that at least 4 days a week, I begin my day at a franchise called Sweat House, where I do sauna and cold plunge.
I'm familiar with it.
And when I travel, I look for Sweat House or something similar. And even we were in San Diego and Los Angeles. I couldn't find anything. I'm like, come on, these are places that should be embracing new trends. And you see so many people now have cold plunges and saunas in their homes. Why do you think that perhaps this sector is being adopted, I guess, more slowly than maybe we would expect it to grow?
Yeah, first of all, I think you're finding it. Big box clubs now are putting this inside their stores. I mean, there are some hotels doing it. Obviously, the democratization of this, you can have it at your home, are coming that way. I think it's a niche offering. I think there are some savvier investors who are like, hey, look, how does this play out maybe through an economic recession? I mean, it's not a cheap price point for the consumer. What do they start to cut if they look at their spending? And so I think some of maybe the savvier money is kind of waiting on the sidelines to make sure this is durable and sustainable through different economic cycles. And there are just so many opportunities out there in recovery, in fitness and wellness and anti-aging. So I just think the fragmentation of offerings, it just means that we're all just, trying to find more and more prospects to open, which means that different brands are opening a little bit slower.
Yeah, Peter Attia was saying on his podcast relative to cold plunges, he said, look, I don't know what the long-term benefits are, but I know that I feel much better after I do it. I know that it sort of steals me for the day. And that's what I felt too, that on the days where I do it, I just, again, I see it in my resting heart rate, which stays lower the rest of the day. And it does by doing those hard things. It kind of Jill's laughing at me. She's like, why are you always talking about this?
The day I put my elbow in, I felt great.
From Minnesota, so the fact that I would do a cold plunge is crazy. I live here, right?
Go outside.
Exactly. It'll be cold here very, very soon. But that's what's frustrating. Go back to the earlier point. Now I've heard cold plunge for someone who's already in shape, it doesn't do as good. And there's just so much information out there. I mean, look, if it makes you feel good mentally and you're seeing some results physically, then keep doing it. As Joe mentioned earlier, there's something for everybody. So wherever you are in your journey, snack, dabble, try, explore, find something that fits you. And guess what? It may work now for the next 3, 6, 9 months. And then the good news is there's so many offerings, you can try something else. And so that's why there's never been a better time to be a consumer. There's just so much to try and do.
All right, David, you're up.
No, this is great. I love this type of podcast because you're speaking my love language. I'm the same way. I've tried it all. I did bodybuilding. I was eating 7-8 times a day, and then now I'm doing 1 meal a day. I feel great with 1 meal a day, but then I'm starving and switching back and forth. But I digress. You've always emphasized culture over hype. How do you keep that message resonating with the younger entrepreneurs entering the fitness franchise?
Oh man, that's a great question. So what I'm proud of too is that Dave and I have made the leap from founder to leader. You don't get many leaders or founders who have been in the brand this long as it really scales and also takes on private equity money. They just can't make that leap. Founders run a startup differently than how they need to run a large scaled mature brand. So we've had to continually kind of reinvent ourselves and to develop ourselves as leaders. Obviously you want to listen, you want to be very, very self-aware. You want to surround yourself with people who are kind of helping you along the way. But for us in culture, we're very intentional about it. Hopefully it's authentic to who you are. I've always had to be very, very clear on over communication. I think in today's noisy world, all of your stakeholders are bombarded with noise. And so how do you cut through that? And so we've done so many different ways to communicate with our stakeholders. Annual conferences, vitals, town hall meetings, internal podcast. I do all staff emails. In fact, in the book here, I share some of the favorite all staff emails I've had over the years. I really consider them as love letters from a CEO to their stakeholders. So communication. Listen to your ears bleed, especially in franchising. You have to make sure your franchisees feel heard and understood. Look at all the data, consumer data, franchise data. Where are the trends? What's going on? And then listen to your team. And then you've got to form a point of view. get some smart people in the room and help you prioritize and go. So for me, it's always about listening, always about taking in information first, and then charting your plan of attack, and then communicating. Not just what's going on in the business, but I'm a big time believer in, being a bit vulnerable and talking about life issues with our stakeholders, not just business issues. And I think that's one of, the hearts and minds of our stakeholders.
Terrific. All right, Morgan, last but not least.
Yeah, it's just something that was on my mind while you were talking. We have a friend, Catherine and I, in California, that's opening a 1,000 square foot pickleball center.
Wow, yeah.
A little shocking. So my question to you is, do you feel that there are any fitness trends that are just not going to be able to be around in 5-10 years?
That's a good question. Pilates is having an incredible moment right now, and I think long-term Pilates is here to stay. I think yoga is making a comeback. Strength training has always stood the test of time. I mean, I just, can't imagine people are not going to want to continue to lift weights for strength and for all those longevity and health reasons. I don't want to name names, but I think there are some very, very small niche offerings today within fitness that maybe are very like a sliver of modality. I just, being a subscale brand in that category, I just don't think, and they're very, very trendy today, I don't think they're going to last. I hesitate to name those brands, but I can see some in fitness and even some, frankly, in the longevity space that I think are just too narrow and at a price point where I just don't think they're going to sustain themselves over time.
I think the number one guidance we can give as franchise consultants to people who are exploring franchises is when we look at for a franchise, do I need it? And do I need it a lot? As we look at those franchises that get the highest valuations, we see that recurring revenue, we see that great branding, and we see that profitability. And certainly with Anytime Fitness and with all the brands you have at Purpose, they fit that bill.
Yeah, and you guys know, look, we've always been long-term thinkers. We've always reinvested in the brand. Dave and I have always how do we get better capabilities to help our franchisees succeed? I mean, the most important accelerant in the flywheel of franchising is unit level performance. If your franchisees make money, everything else takes care of itself. They will buy more territories, will refer more people, and the growth happens. And so we've always been franchisee focused, current franchisees. And then, yes, we want to add white space. We want to sell territories. But first and foremost, help your franchisees ramp the business, be successful, and I promise you the growth will happen.
Awesome. Chuck, this has been so great. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time. If you don't mind, for the listeners, what's the name of your guys' new book one more time?
It is called Franchise Your Franchise. You can find me on LinkedIn at Chuck Runyon. I'm on Instagram at Chuck Runyon. If anyone's interested in the book, they can email franchise@purposebrands.com. Franchise@purposebrands.com. In fact, you guys, if you don't mind, send me your home addresses at franchise@purposebrands.com, and I'll send you guys a book. I'd love for you to read it. We are just we love health and fitness. We also love franchising. I mean, my gosh, this has provided opportunities for people. For the last 75 years, it's been one of the great unlock for people with generational wealth and opportunities and, franchises of all types. And so I love this industry. Globally, I can tell you it is growing and better than ever. I'm so excited where this is going. And so Dave and I spent a lot of time. Dave's a member of the International Franchise Association. He's on their board. So we are promoting and protecting the franchise industry. We're promoting and protecting the wellness industry. And so we just care deeply about opportunities for people and helping them unlock personal growth, purpose, and generational wealth.
That is so well said. And for all of you listening, please do visit us at thefranchiseinsiders.com. If you'd like to learn more about any of the franchises that Purpose Brands has, I encourage you to go to our team page to learn about our team, learn about Catherine, Brian, David, Morgan, and now Jay and Carolina. All of our consultants have been top 5 franchise owners in their system. Multiple consultants on our team have had successful exits. So please do go learn about our team, and whoever you want to work with, we'd love to help you. Go to thefranchiseinsiders.com. And for this week on We Bought a Franchise, I'm Jack Johnson.
I'm Jill Johnson.
And we'll talk to you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
We bought a franchise. We did our research, looked at all the options, then we found Pink's Windows down in Austin. Now we got a truck and a team, and we're gonna make this whole town clean. We bought a franchise.